Welcome back to Tottenham on Tour's world famous Christmas Advent calendar. It is day number 11. 11 days into Christmas. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? So what we're going to do is get 3 people that don't celebrate Christmas on the show and have an absolute laugh with you. But back on the channel after a long hiatus, Amir, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right, Ben. I'm doing all right. I'm settling into my new surroundings. And do you know what? I'm actually getting pumped for Christmas, Ben, because I'm going to be back home in London. You know, family and friends around. Festive period. I love it. We got Hanukkah coming up as well. So there's a lot to look forward to. And obviously a lot of football to look forward to. So I'm really pumped. And great to be back, guys, you know. Finally.
Of course, always welcome, Amir. And of course, Mr. Dagul, how are you doing today, buddy?
Yes, I'm on top of the world, mate. And being with Amir and you is always a pleasure. I was expecting Amir to come and go, bonjour, comment tu, and where he's in his new surroundings. But he's only just got there, so we're forgiven. But a good day to talk about.
Why do you think I've got this outrageous accent? For anyone that gets the reference, but it's Tottenham on Tour's Christmas Advent calendar. So we're going to start with a Christmas cracker joke. And the way we do things is the guest starts first. But we don't really have any guests here. So Amir, take us away, Aki.
All right, so I got a golden one for you guys. Why was the footballer covered in spit? Because he was always dribbling. Terrible.
Oh, mate. Do you know what? You thought yours was bad? Like I said, I've just picked one at random. This is bad.
That's really bad.
What did the snowman ask the other snowman?
I don't know.
Can you smell carrots? It's bad. I told you it's bad.
I don't know which one's worse, to be honest, lads.
Which one is worse? Who knows? Let us know in the comments below. Who's got the worst one? And finally, mine. What kind of motorcycle does Santa ride?
Oh, go on.
A Holly Davidson.
Oh, Jesus. I was trying to think of bike names and I just couldn't think. And it's the first one. Oh, dear. Right. Put in the comments who had the best, worst joke. The bar, I have to say, is very, very low today.
Yeah, the bar was really low.
There's been a standout joke pretty much every single day. This one, I don't think there's been a standout.
Yeah,
right.
They're all awful.
Let's get into it. So, today we're talking about players that wore the illustrious number 11. And we hear the word, we're starting with a bang. This is someone we won't be able to talk about in great detail, but the word legend is used far too often. But this man, Cliff Jones, is most certainly in that legendary status, isn't he, Ben?
You start with a bang, don't you? You absolutely start with a bang. Cliff Jones, double winner, multiple FA Cups under Bill Nicholson's reign, and a Cup Winners' Cup to boot. I wish we had a player now that had this this trophy record. And just look at how many goals he scored. We don't even think about Cliffy Jones with that many goals, but 135 goals in his Tottenham career. He was a goal machine, playing in an era where left wingers didn't really score goals. So to score that many goals in an era where tackles weren't as they were now, people went above the knee, two-footed, but half the challenges that see red cards now wouldn't even get a yellow card in those days. They were lethal, playing on mud pitches in the freezing cold and rain. This guy, if he played today now, would be the best winger in the world. He was that good. Absolute wing Welsh wizard. And that's going to be a theme in this episode. But absolutely legendary footballer for Tottenham Hotspur. And we can't really talk about much, but what a player. Amir.
Well, I'm just hoping that Brennan Johnson is looking at Cliff and thinking, you know, I want some of that. I want those FA Cups. I want European titles. And, you know, he can be our new Welsh wizard. Obviously, growing up in the 90s, I didn't really see too much of Cliff myself. But obviously in the archive videos and stuff, the guy was a wizard, well ahead of his time, doing things like you said, Benny, on pitches that, you remember those muddy, boggy pitches, the control needed to get past players to skin them and then put the ball in the back of the net. I'd say is 10 times what you need these days. So
heavy medicine balls as well. Heavy medicine balls.
Oh, you remember those? Ooh.
I mean, you look at this. You mentioned Johnson, Amir. There's another Welsh wizard that's coming into this thing that he could look to as well. We seem to have a succession of Welsh wingers that seem to do well at this football club. Like you both have touched on everything that he done on the pitch. This guy, the stuff he does off the pitch, and you'll be very, very hard pressed to find a person that speaks so passionately about Spurs whenever he gets the chance. An absolute gent. And like you said, that goal record is outstanding for a winger.
Yeah,
outstanding when you look at it. And obviously there'll be people like Colin Cross that I know will be in the chat right now that will be telling stories about this man. This man is someone my grandpa and my dad would speak about and say, I watched him or I've seen clips of him. Just a legend. And you talk about going to a legend. The next player we'll all know, or I'll certainly know, Amir will know, was a Spurs player when I first started going. It's part of a dynasty of certain. There's a family that's synonymous with Tottenham. This man here, Paul Allen, probably one of the most underrated players we've had. I mean, Ben, again, it's a little bit before your time, isn't it?
Yeah. You only have to hear about Allen family, don't you, when it comes to Tottenham? His cousin Clive scoring 49 goals in a single season, and you can rattle off many members of his family, but one FA Cup is not something to scoff at. One FA Cup is an absolute. I wish we had one player now that would win a single FA Cup. Yeah. 292 games for Tottenham, stalwart in the Tottenham team in that era, coming into a very wretched time of the 90s, but very much a legend in his own right. And it's just a brilliant thing to have a family be connected so much with Tottenham, because we are a family club. Tottenham is all about families. Football is all about families, and you don't really see it. How many other families are synonymous with a club? I can't name one. There probably is, and if you know one, put it in the chat.
I think you're probably looking at the Ferdinands with West Ham, obviously.
Maybe, but those were two brothers.
Yeah,
you can't really say that. It's like a cousin and a father, and
you can go. Yeah, their grandfather Les Allen played for us as well.
Yeah,
so
yeah. So it's a brilliant thing, and it's a bit before our time. But Amir, what do you think of Mr. Paul Allen?
Yeah, again, I was very, very young when he was still playing for Spurs. I don't know if I have any memories of actually being down at the lane and seeing him play. But from what I've heard and from the archives, again, absolutely phenomenal player. And like you're saying, we're all about family vibes, family club. We're a family channel here on Tottenham on Tour. We love getting the families involved. We feel like one big family. And he's just, a long line of those legacy players that have done so much for the club. And like you said, Ben, the FA Cup is nothing to scoff at. And I think personally, getting onto our times, that Big Ange, he'd be looking at that draw that we got, and he'll be G'ing those lads up from now, saying we've got an eye on that FA Cup. So, I really hope that we can learn from the past, learn from players like Allen, learn from the success that we had under Cliff Jones and Bill Nick, and really, really try and get those days back going, those glory days down at the lane. That's what's so important to all us fans.
You know what, I mean? I'm going to piggyback on what you said. Like you said about the learning from this is kind of what this show's about as well. Rather than just picking a player or discussing, we've tried to do it that we go back into the archive, bring up players from different timelines, not just the present. Let's just talk present. We are talking about people that, like I said, neither of us had seen Cliff Jones. There'll be a lot of people that didn't see Ben. For one, you were young. I was about 9, 10 and started to understand football when I saw him. This guy would run through 5 brick walls for Tottenham Hotspur. Loved to go against Arsenal. I remember one in the league where he went absolutely nuts. Would always give everything. May not have been as blessed with Clive Allen's gift was putting the ball in the back of the net. He had a certain quality that he just knew. He wasn't blessed with an attribute. Oh, Paul Allen's the greatest at this, apart from when it came from work rate and effort. We talk about Pierre-Emile Højbjerg now, about how that man will do anything for the team, and you can't look further than Paul Allen back then. One of the most underrated players at that time. So we've done 2 now. You're in for 3 treats now, for different reasons. So these ones will be spoken about in a bit more depth. We're going to start. I've tried to choose iconic pictures as and where I can. And for this man here, Mr. Ronnie Rosenthal, there's a reason I've chosen that picture. We all know the game.
The Rocket.
The Rocket, Ronnie Rosenthal, Ben.
I mean, what more can you say about him? He's a gent. I've heard your story, which you're probably going to mention here on this show now. I'm going to leave it more to you boys, but didn't spend that much time here. Spent more of his time at Liverpool, but a very decent football player in his own right. And we're going to talk about the hat-trick against Southampton. He's only scored 4 goals, and 3 of them was in the same game. You pick a time to choose them, Ronnie, but a really nice guy outside of the football pitch. A really, really decent human being. And it's great that he's part of our football club and we talk about him as, you've probably all guessed it by now, where we're all talking about Rocket Ronnie Rosenthal, but just a really nice guy. And get your Hanukkah donuts out because it's Latka time.
It is actually. My mother-in-law said to me on Hanukkah, what do you want every day, donuts or latkes? And I've definitely gone latkes. I've gone latkes. Amir, Rocket Ronnie Rosenthal.
Oh, what a legend. What a legend. And, you know, that's actually a player that, you know, I had the opportunity of bumping into down at White Hart Lane back in the day, back when I was a child. You know, very, very, very nice guy, gentleman, you know, took the time to just, you know, talk and say hello to a little random Israeli kid in the stadium. So I thought that was really, really nice of him. And, you know, everyone remembers that hat trick. What a performance, what goals. You know, when the Rocket was on fire, there was just no stopping him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was just unbelievable. And again, you know, representing our team, you know, the fact that we've got such gents, you know, coming through and that have been at our club and the way they represented our club, it just makes me proud to be a Spurs supporter, really, to be honest with you. To have those kind of guys on the history books.
Mate, I first of all, what I will say with you, like you said, Amir, on his day, unstoppable. One of the things I will say, when you first see him and you just saw it, he is a man mountain. Yeah. He is a unit. But one of the things he was the first player that I couldn't really understand in the fact that if he had 4 players around him, he'll get outside those 4 players like a prime Messi. But if he's running down the wing in open space, he'll fall over.
Yeah.
I've never understood how he did this. Well, because I was going a lot during his time. This is when I started going regularly. The season I went to my first away games was during this season. He had the ability to do the magnificent, and then the plain, simple bread and butter, he would sometimes stumble. But this game, listen, we can talk about iconic substitutions in our club's history. And I think in modern day, every single person will say Lucas Moura, Ajax, bang. Yeah. This one tops it for me, but only because I was there. Only because I was there, and you got to remember we were 2-0 down after 20 odd minutes in an FA Cup quarter final, or sorry, 6th round, an FA Cup that we were banned from, and then got back into, and within 26 minutes, kind of like what Jose Mourinho did with Eric Dyer in the Champions League. Yeah, he took Stuart Nethercott off and put Ronnie Rosenthal on. And forget that the score finished at 6-2 and he got a hat-trick. I go back to where I said about doing the hard things like they're nothing and doing this. You'll be hard to find a hat-trick where all 3 goals are magnificent.
Yeah.
Like the Lucas Moura's goals, yeah, they're good goals, whatever, and
They
obviously
were really good goals, some of
iconic,
them.
and will go down in our history for the rest of the time. People that haven't watched this 6-2 game, go watch Ronnie Rosenthal's 3 goals. They're each one incredible, but you said I've got a couple of stories to tell, and obviously they're all from the same night. People will know I used to live in Israel, and I spent a lot of my time in Eilat, and there was a bar that's no longer there that Amir will know well, called the Underground, which was kind of a beacon for English people in Israel to go and to meet and have a few drinks. And we were sitting there watching a game where we're in the UEFA Cup. It was the second leg. We went out. Anyway, half time, we're sitting there, all the English and Spurs fans are sitting there. All of a sudden, you see this big guy walking in, and it is Ronnie Rosenthal, who I have to say, you see a lot of footballers lose their physique or let their body go or just don't have that need to go to the gym every single day. This guy bulked up even more. This guy is I said a man mountain. He's my God, he's massive. Anyway, it's Ronnie, and Ronnie comes up to us and says, "Guys, do you mind if I come and sit with you for the second half?" We're like, "You're Ronnie Rosenthal. You have permission to sit with us. Are you sure?" And he was like, "Yeah." It was like, of course. The first thing he did is when they came over and said, "Hi, Ronnie," blah blah. The bartender, credit card over the bar. These people don't pay for a drink all night. I don't think he realised what he was doing at the time because quite a few people that could drink. We were with him till about 2 o'clock in the morning. One of the most drunken nights I've ever had in my life. And that's saying something. Not only is he an absolutely incredible guy, but he actually told us the story. He recommended Dimitar Berbatov to Tottenham Hotspur.
No way.
Mate, he so basically when he left football, I don't know if he's still doing it now. And Ronnie, if you're watching this, big up to you, mate. Hope you and the family are well. And you remember that night because that was one of the greatest nights of my life. He used to do with Liverpool and the clubs he played for. Okay, he used to say, "Oh, check this player out, check this player out," and he mentioned it to the powers that be at Tottenham the season before we bought him. Lo and behold, and we're talking about Berbatov because Berbatov was on the pitch that game. So the very first inkling that Tottenham Hotspur had, like, I don't know if they were. Don't get me wrong, they could have been looking before, but Ronnie Rosenthal reached out to the club. And I even said, "Why didn't you reach out to Liverpool?" And he had he wouldn't tell me why, but there's a little wink. Like I think he's got a bigger soft spot for Tottenham. But when he was like, "I recommend," you're sitting there and you're thinking, "My God, this guy, who I idolise anyway for that hat trick, he'll always go down as a hero for me." But then to say we've got Dimitar Berbatov and he had, it's like, thank you, because you've given Spurs fans a lot of memories to talk about. And like I said, Amir, have you only met him the once? He is an incredible guy.
Yeah, only the once when I was very young, at the Players' Lounge down at the old stadium at the Lane. But, what you said, telling me there that he spotted out Berbatov. Don't know what you're up to, Ronnie, but, I'd sign him up to get him on the Scouts network right now. If that's these kind of imagine the players he could be picking out for us these days.
Mate, you never know. Maybe he still is. Maybe he still is. But yeah, that's Ronnie. Now we're going to move on to the next player. Now I'm going to whilst Ben's making a coffee, I can talk about this guy and who it's going to be. Let me just say, we will be doing 24 days of this. So if you think about it, I need 5 pictures. So that's what, 50 every 10, 100 for 20. So 120 photos have gone into bringing this selection. And I'm going to tell you, with this guy we're about to bring up, never have I spent as long trying to find a photo. Not trying to find, but trying to choose which photo, because there were so many iconic ones. And I had to go after he scored the winner against West Ham.
Oh, yeah.
Mate, when it came to the pictures, it could have been the Arsenal one where he was going like that and screamed down the camera.
Yeah.
It could have. There was ones where he was lining up to take a free kick. And I was like, I literally spent 45 minutes trying to find the picture or choose the picture. We're talking about the Welsh wizard, The second Welsh wizard, Ben, talk Gareth Bale.
This guy was my first hero. Talking Tottenham, I loved Gareth Bale. This was the first. I think I met a couple Spurs players, but this was the first Spurs player I knew this was Gareth Bale, and I met him down Brook Parade in Chigwell. For anyone that knows that esteemed part of the world when we were living there, very close to the old Tottenham training ground, that was opposite a dump, which was really funny. But Gareth Bale was an absolute machine for about 4 years at Tottenham. He was an absolute icon for me growing up as a young football fan. The things he could do with a football, like explosive, is the word you use to describe Gareth Bale. And we can talk about his Madrid career in as well. In day 14, we will speak about another player, but tune in for day 14. But this man could do anything with a football. We only have to talk about the Champions League game against Inter Milan. Same goal 3 times in a row. And they just could not stop him. We lost the game, but he made his mark. 3 times, down the wing past Maicon, bottom corner, bottom corner, bottom corner. He made a loss seem like a win. That's how good that hat-trick was. And we've talked about amazing hat-tricks already. But what a footballer. Like, he could do anything. You've mentioned the West Ham game. Like, carried us those 2 seasons under AVB. Well, the 1 season. He carried us. We were absolutely awful. We had some really decent players in that team, but we had Gareth Bale, and we could beat any team because we had him. And my most fond memory was against Lyon in the Europa League. And we were 1-0 down to Lyon, and he scored 2 free kicks from about 40 yards. And he scored the first free kick, and you're like, unbelievable. And he lined up the second free kick, which was even further away. And you thought, he's not going to do it, is he? Like Gazza against Peter Shilton on day 8. Yeah. Top corner, like bang, absolute artillery cannon. He could do anything. There's so many bangers of goals. West Brom away in the black and grey kit.
Yep.
He was a goal machine. And he's one of the only players of the modern era you can say, thank God he won a trophy. There's the Harry Kanes, the Sonnies, the other players on the list who have been absolutely amazing for us. They have not won zilch. At least Gareth Bale, although he was just coming into the team at that time, he was there for a trophy celebration. At least he knew what it was like winning a trophy.
Yep.
What a footballer. I loved this man growing up. He was my hero. As like we've had Mark Cousins on day 6 talk about his hero, Gary Mabbott. This was my hero growing up. This was the first, that's my hero. A world-class footballer. And for Madrid, 3 Champions Leagues in a row. Overhead kicks in finals. Crazy, crazy footballer. And amazing. Came back and still did the business.
Yep. Amir.
Well, it's going to be hard to follow that, Ben, because you really summed up Bale to a T. But I think one thing that I can just add, is the fact that Gareth, you could always rely on him. Yeah. If you got that free kick in the 88th minute, he'd turn up and he'd put it in the top corner. If it was a 0-0, rubbish match and we just needed a goal, he'd get his head on the end of a corner and he'd get a header and he'd score. He could do it all. He really could do it all. And that match, that iconic match against Inter, I can remember being sat at Paddy's actually down in Elat, Dagul, one, the Irish bar there. Half time, head in my hands. There's another Spurs, guy in there as well. We're just, we're both so depressed. Getting a few more pints in. And next thing you know, Bale's there running down the wing, skidding Maicon, scoring goals for fun. And that's when I realized we had a real talent on our hands. And, I just enjoyed seeing him in a Spurs shirt. I think he's probably one of the most underrated superstars of this generation. The things he did, even in Madrid, I know that some of their fans had it in for him a little bit, with the price tag and everything. But I still think the amount of Champions Leagues he helped them win, that goal in the final, surely you should be respecting that. You know what I mean? That was absolutely unbelievable. And I just think it's the only thing that kind of dampens it with Bale, and it's happened to other players as well, similar to Michael Owen. It's just those injuries. Those injuries got to him.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's kind of luck of the draw. Owen had the same thing with his hamstrings, didn't he? Didn't do any good. But yeah, with Gareth, I wish him all the success in the world and whatever he's going off to do after football. And I know he's into his golf, isn't he? I wouldn't be surprised if we see him on the PGA. Yeah, on the PGA or something like that, or the European Tour in a few years. Because he's such a talented player. We're really lucky that we had him on our books for sure.
I mean, yeah, but listen, I will start this by saying till the day I die, the biggest regret in my entire life, Tottenham Hotspur wise, was never seeing him live, ever.
Saw Bale live.
Of all the players, that was because at a time where putting alcohol down my throat was more important because I could watch Spurs on TV or whatever. My biggest, obviously, even with COVID, I was here in Toronto. So even if he'd come back and you could have gone in, I wouldn't have been able to see him. My biggest regret, I don't care who we sign for the rest of my life, there will never be a bigger regret for me of not seeing a player that was in my lifetime, obviously. You've just got to look at it. This scrawny little kid we signed from Southampton that bulked up into another man mountain.
Mm-hmm.
You both spoke, and we'll get people to comment on this. You both speak about the Inter Milan first game, where he was outstanding. I think the home leg, he was 10 times better. He was 10 times better. I have never seen, even Andy Gray said back then, he goes, I've never seen anyone in my life do what he is doing.
Mm.
We've seen Messi and Ronaldo do things. This man, I don't think anyone will do. They could have had 22 men on the pitch and they wouldn't have been able to stop everything this man did. Just every team was terrified of him. You look at his final season at the Lane, every goal from the second half of the season is like goal of the season worthy. But Ben, you mentioned something, and do you know what? One of the reasons I brought up that goal is I used to call him the commentator's dream because he had this knack. I don't know how he did it. He did it for this West Ham game. Now, I was watching this West Ham game with my dad. Obviously, we know the game, 2-1 down, 2-2. Then he hit that winner. As Gareth Bale's going on the run, he gets fouled and Tom Carroll gets the ball. The Sky commentator at the time says, do you know what? With this result of 2-2, the team that benefits the most out of this is Arsenal. And the second he said Arsenal, Gareth Bale hits that ball. And bang! And I was like, there you go, thank you. Then you speak about the Lyon game and the 2 free kicks. Again, watching it at home. The last one was scored in the 90th minute or 90 plus whatever. And it's one of the best lines of commentary I've heard, right up there with "Is Gascoigne gonna have a crack?" That's the epitome in my lifetime. But he says, I can't remember who it was, but he goes, "Is there another trick from Gareth Bale's wand of a right foot? Left foot. Yeah. And then he hits the ball, and then the commentator just goes, ta-da!" Yeah. I was like, he is a commentator. That's why I called him the commentator's dream. Because you see these things like the Rafa Benitez when he goes like that and his name appears. The commentator would say something and he would do it.
Yeah.
That final season with AVB, you talk about, like you said, we go back now and say Harry Kane for the last few years has got problems. There were other people there. There was a son. There was this one. At the time, there was this man. And if he didn't do it, and do you know what? I'm so happy he got to come back. It's just a shame that people didn't get to go. Only a few select for that Arsenal game that we won, but he didn't play. It is a crime. I mean, you saw the atmosphere at the Lane when he was coming back.
Yeah.
The atmosphere of him coming back was like through the roof. Just the song he was born to play for Spurs is just... and do you know what? The person we've got coming last...
It's another one. One more thing on Gareth Bale.
Yeah, go on, bro.
Gareth Bale was the only other player in the last 20 years that is possibly on Gaza level for just being able to do anything he wanted. And just like, I want to win a game. I'll do it.
Yeah, you've got a point.
No other even Harry Kane never did some of the things Gareth. But I'm just going to win the game. We're drawing against Southampton. 90th minute the game. Okay, I just win the game for you. Bang. West Brom. Bang. He will just go, I want to win the game. I'll just do it. Right. He was the only other player which is funny because you could also call him Gazza as well. So maybe it's just people with G's.
Maybe it's G's, Welsh wingers. Who knows with this football club? Players that begin with G seem to do well. But the last one, listen, we spoke about Jan Vertonghen and other foreigners that have come into the club and just bleed Tottenham and get Tottenham and love Tottenham. And you don't look any further than this man. And I talk about iconic pictures. This was a very, very easy picture to choose from. Rafa van der Vaart, Ben.
It's another play. He was on that level for me. It's him and Bale were my two heroes in that season in the Champions League. I remember very, very clearly. England actually played the night he signed, which was really weird for international football to be on like the last day of the season. It was really weird. And at that time, Fabio Capello was the manager. So I was very close with Fabio Capello at the time. And I said, Tottenham are signing Rafael van der Vaart. And he just did the usual thing that Mr. Capello would do. Good player. That's all we needed to say. Didn't say anything more. Good player. And I knew at that time we had a player there. What is one of the first, we've seen players with loads of movement, but if you ever watched Van der Vaart in that era, he was everywhere. And you don't seem to think of him as an athletic player because it was a bit portly. He wasn't the finished chap. It was a bit more thicker set, but he just ran and ran and ran until he was blue in the face. He just cared. He cared more than any other person on that pitch, and he was awesome. Again, there's another player that starred in the home game against Inter Milan. That goal started off, but that Arsenal game was one of my fondest away day memories. The first time I ever went to the dump that's down the road, absolutely terrible, awful, disgusting football stadium, and one of Ben Daniels' jokes, you would have heard at this point.
Yes.
That free kick onto Yunus Kabul's head in that time was absolutely beautiful. I love that football team. That football team that Harry Redknapp constructed of Sandro or Palacios as the sitting deep, Modric next to them, Van der Vaart in the 10, Lennon on the right, Bale on the left, Crouch up front. That was a team of cult heroes.
Yep.
Absolutely brilliant. Ledley at the back with Dorse. You can't think of or even Mr. Johnny Woodgate was there as well. Another awesome player for us at the time. What a football team that was. And then, of course, you got Kyle Walker came into the team eventually. That was a brilliant era for Tottenham under Harry Redknapp. I still love that team. It was probably my favourite team to support because that was the team I grew up.
Yeah,
I love Spurs because of that team. Because I had Champions League nights and the buzz at the lane. Still the greatest atmosphere I think I have ever seen at a football game. I was at that Arsenal game a couple of years back. But that was magic that night. Inter Milan at home. That was probably the best atmosphere I've ever been at and ever experienced. It was absolutely superb.
Amir, off you go, brother.
So here we go. I've actually got a story about that night, Ben.
Here we go. Let's hear it.
Yeah, that Inter Milan one. So, I was obviously so excited for it. And I think I'd just been, come back from Israel with a mate of mine. He was staying with me. And I could only get my hands on one ticket. I only had one ticket. I couldn't find anywhere, for love nor money, I couldn't find my mate another ticket. And, Israeli guy in the big city in London, I couldn't leave him alone. I couldn't leave him alone. So I actually had to give my ticket to another mate of mine, big Spurs fan. And I said, look, just, go enjoy it. I'll go down to the Bricklayers with my mate and we'll go and watch it in there. And obviously I wasn't in the stadium for it, but we had such a good time in the pub. Had a few drinks, and the place was absolutely rocking. And not just the pub, the whole high street after the match. Like, I've never seen Tottenham like that after that match. So, can you imagine what it's going to be like once we bring some trophies home under Ange? I mean, that was literally a magical night. But yeah, on to Rafa. I mean, to be honest, when we kind of signed him, I thought it was a bit of a wind up, because we don't usually go out and sign such big stars, such big players, such big names. And when I heard we were getting Rafa, I was just completely over the moon. And you see it there. In the games he played, he was so impactful. He'd get the goals, he'd assist, he'd run riot. Even if he didn't get a goal in the game, he'd be hitting the woodwork from outside the box. The player was just unbelievable. That shift, that he used to do from left to right and just put it on, whipping the ball, absolutely fantastic. And the only thing that I kind of regret is that he didn't stay for a bit longer. I thought he maybe
AVB is a clown.
Yeah, I think he could have stayed a bit longer, to be honest. Would have loved to have him on the
Poch would have loved him as a squad.
Mate, can you imagine, Ben? Can you imagine?
You look at this. People, I mean, we can talk about. I remember where I was when that transfer rumor came in. That came in so quickly. It was the final. Don't get me wrong, Levy has dined on this for a long time, but that he pulled a rabbit out of the hat for Harry Redknapp. If there's a Harry Redknapp player you want to talk about, you look no further than this man. And you've just got to look at that goal return. Yeah. 63 games, 24 goals.
Yeah.
For a player that wasn't an out-and-out striker, words you can use to describe this man: majestic, magnificent, artist. He just played the game so beautifully. Just Joe, he's one of a very few footballers that I used to say he didn't run on the pitch; he glided.
Yeah.
You look at when he double nutmegged the Arsenal players in the 3-3 at home. One of my greatest memories of him is in his debut home game against Aston Villa, where he scores 2. Yeah. His first goal after a header, he runs over to an old lady and just hugs her and gets invited. This man,
he got it.
Oh, mate, I don't think when you're talking about players that got it, and we're not just talking about his talent, what it is to be a Spurs player, the tricks, the flicks, the goals against the volley against Liverpool at Anfield. This man, if anyone says name a man that loves a goal against Arsenal, I think a lot of people will straight away say Rafa van der Vaart and go like that. He just coolness personified, and he even says to this day his biggest regret in football is leaving Tottenham Hotspur. And he's got Real Madrid. He has been at Hamburg. He's been at Ajax. He has won things. He still loves Tottenham Hotspur. He comes back regularly. This guy, honestly, and he just the way you saw him speak.
Yeah.
This wasn't a job for him. This was a passion. This was oh mate, I literally, this man, and he's wearing my favourite kit of all time in that
Puma kit.
That Puma kit with the blue sash at the top.
I loved it.
Mate, this guy is just like no other. I mean, what a way to wrap up number 11, Ben.
Yeah, absolutely amazing players. Absolutely great time. Really feel good. But you can't really say much more. Some brilliant names wore that number 11.
Exactly. And all right, we'll wrap this up. Amir, first of all, thank you for coming on. We've been trying to get you on. Obviously, you've been moving. Everything's been busy. But good news for everyone. The community section has been a bit quiet recently whilst Amir has his move. So Ben has been doing a brilliant job with it. But Mr. Community section is going to take the reins up again.
Yeah.
So there'll be a lot more.
I'm going to do my best, Dagul.
Well, mate, if your best was what you were doing before, we'll be flying because thank you for all the great work you did, Amir. Obviously, we love you dearly, not just because of the channel. People will know we are very, very close away from this as well. And just spending time with you on screen is always a pleasure, brother.
Always. It's just a pleasure to be back, guys, and obviously, got a lot going on. But yeah, it's been a real pleasure to come back streaming again and be with you guys and spend some time. And I was really hoping, to catch you over while we're in London, but this year it didn't quite work out, Dagul. So
well, I called you once, didn't I, when we went out with Ben Daniel, when we went and played pool?
Oh yeah. Back in February. Yeah.
That's back then. So we did see each other. You're gonna have to come to Toronto now, brother.
Well, I'll try and hitch a ride. And Ben, I'm sure we'll link up.
We'll work it out. But from everyone here at Tottenham on Tour, we wish you a wonderful Christmas and holiday season. Spoil yourself. Eat all the delicious food you need. Thank you all so much for watching today's show, and we will see you in the next one. Come on, you
Spurs.
Come on.
Tottenham